Hey, it's Cam back for another episode of Create Your Character. I have Dennis Wood. He's been a Primerica insurance instructor since 2002. Could you tell us a little bit more about you?
Yeah, I obviously I have been licensed for uh, over 30 years. All right, and so as I kind of progressed up the ladder, and I took the direction because I guess my heart's desire was to have been a college teacher, and all kinds of reasons that didn't work out. But anyways, and so I got a chance to be uh, a licensing coach, okay, at Primerica. So I get to teach or train a lot of uh, agents.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about your time in the military.
okay, well, I on the one hand I was only in for 3.5 years, all right, but I went through ROTC in college, all right, and then I went to missile school in Alabama, uh, and after 6 months of being in missile school, um, during the middle of Vietnam War, so I'm kind of an old guy. That Uncle sent me over to Germany, and so I spent really um, 3 years roaming around Germany, not roaming around, but going to various and sundry different locations, units, or whatever. I have been all over Germany, um, Italy, Greece, Turkey, um, on missions. All right, for Uncle. So I have been as far east as it was possible in Turkey. Actually, I remember, and for whatever reason, Uncle Sam said we had to go there in the middle of January. Okay, and a lot of people aren't aware, but there are mountains there, and actually, the train. There's one at that time back in the late 60s.
Okay.
Okay, when one train went east from Istanbul every day, and one went all the way to the easternmost part, which is called Erzurum. Okay, and one train came west. All right, and but the noteworthy thing is of the train. One of the days that was there the previous week, it got stuck in some kind of avalanche or whatever in a pass through the mountains, and I think 6 people froze to death on the train, which is kind of
Oh,
interesting.
that's
Wow,
interesting.
I mean, you are talking about primitive. Okay, but the folks back at the eastern part are guarding at that time a pass that if uh, the Russians, of course, as Turkey is part of NATO, if they
Right.
were ever to come into Turkey, they got to come through that pass, and that's what those people were there for, and we were supporting those Turkish troops. But anyways, that was somewhat noteworthy of different places you have been. Which wow, yeah, you never thought it was a dangerous job necessarily, but hey, just the weather and it. Hey, it happens. But we were 67 hours on the train.
What?
Okay, yeah,
It's like being on a plane for
yeah,
67
I
hours.
but it was so cool in that it was like the 1920 Orient Express. It was the car was absolutely beautiful. Everything inlaid wood, brass fittings, and all that. Except it was so old.
Right.
Okay, what it was, in fact, the other semi noteworthy thing about the so-called dining car, the lighting in there, it had six 50-watt bulbs, and that was the lighting in the car. So kind of dark and kind of dim, but
Yeah.
you can see what you're eating barely. But anyways, hey, it was what it was, and we were doing what we had to do. So it was that.
Yeah. So, can you talk about PAL a little bit?
The,
Um, the we were just talking about. Can you talk about that a little bit?
pal. Actually, I can't say too much. If you look it up, um, uh, PAL stands for Permissive Action Link. Okay,
Okay.
and we're getting kind of into a kind of a classified area
Okay.
at the time or whatever like that. But you could that's not classified. So if a person wants to look it up, you can look it up and kind of see what it is. All right, but it was a unique unit. There's only a one uh, of its kind in the military at the time. So, but as I say, when you look it up and you find out what it is, it's uh, as I say, interesting. As I said, totally unique, totally unique. Okay, so but we all had top secret crypto clearances, so it all had to be kind of fancy stuff and stuff you're probably not supposed to talk about too much. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, then, tell me a little bit about your time at American Can Company. Wasn't that Primerica
okay,
before?
okay. Interestingly, I I started out at American Can Company uh, in Milwaukee because
Mhm.
I went to college in Milwaukee, actually the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, and I was, Milwaukee is got a lot of breweries in it, and
Mhm.
they, take a lot of cans, etc. So I got a job, quite frankly, while I was still in college. All right, that then finished up. I uh, then sent overseas, and while I was overseas in Germany, there were a lot of companies were interviewing for junior officers to come out, and I had made captain, okay, in a couple of years, a little over that, and so more or less of a prime candidate, especially with my background, etc., for kind of technical stuff. Anyways, so they hired me to go back, and it was a very fortuitous kind of situation. All the time that I spent in the military worked as time. As you know, if you go in the military, all your time counts. Okay,
Yep.
and so it worked out really good. Okay, and that for me monetarily. So that's what happened. I came back as a management type, and since I had been to Huntsville, going to going to the missile course. I spent 6 months there. All right. I had learned about the South and Atlanta because I'm born in Chicago and kind of grew up more or less in Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin, and so didn't know much about Atlanta. And but when I came south, oh, this is a really the weather ever since uh, going to be a growing area, all that sort of thing. And so I had the opportunity to come here or to go to Baltimore, Maryland. Nothing against Baltimore, sort of. Anyways, but so I that was like a no brainer to come to Atlanta,
Yeah.
and so that's how I got here. Okay, and uh, kind of progressed through the ranks. Um, I started on my MBA while I was in Germany. Um, I'm always that kind. I'm a uh, soak up education like crazy. I'm always listening to books or whatever. Anyway, so when I went over there, first I took a learned a German uh, course, etc. Did that, and since then they started an MBA program. I thought, oh, hey, how could this be better, right? So while I was there, I did that. Got a year in toward an MBA, and so I came back, uh, and besides working for the can company, I went nights to Georgia State and got an MBA. Um, and from that MBA, got me a pretty sizable promotion. I was materials manager for the plant, um, and briefly, American major company, Fortune 80 company, tens of thousands of employees, folks. And there were when I got the promotion, there were 65 can plants. All right, and that's the one side of the business. The other side is the paper side. Okay, there are all
Right.
kind of paper products. Oh, brownie paper towels. Toilet tissue. I mean, all kinds of things, paper things. In fact, American Can, that paper side, was the largest landowner in the state of Alabama.
Wow.
Okay, so a sizable kind of thing. All right, and then so what then happened is American Can decided that uh, the future was going to lie in financial services. All right, and so in the late 70s, they did a big switch to get out of manufacturing and into financial services, and voila,
Primerica.
here I am. Because one of the things they did is they bought an insurance company, which was Millico, which is then morphed into Primerica.
So, in your class, we obviously talk about how insurance works and everything.
Right.
Is there a simple way you could explain the three types, the term, universal, and whole?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Of course, term insurance, okay, is just pure insurance. It's a plain vanilla, nothing fancy. It's just based on the mortality curve. All right. And so as you get older, of course, you are a little bit closer to the time when you are going to leave the planet, right? And, as I tell in class, nobody gets off the planet alive. That's
Yeah.
a fate that is in everyone's future. All right. So, anyways, but term insurance is the cheapest way to take care of that. Okay, it's going to have the lowest cost because it's no frills. All right, but to make it a bit more marketable, some folks then came up with whole life. Okay, at which time this is then called the endowment principle, where what happens is they found out if you take that mortality curve, which is kind of the basis of all insurance, and you add an internal interest rate to that, all right, you can then have it where it looks like it's pretty good, okay, because you go and you have this internal account, okay, that's going up. So that is going to be the next basic one, which is whole life insurance, which has that, as I say, that cash value building up. However, the one thing that people are not usually aware of, although it is building up internally,
Mhm.
it is not part of the death benefit. Okay, so the upon death, the insurance company keeps that, which is the way they keep their price level. Because one of the things that it says, or that they somewhat brag about, is that the premium never goes up and the death benefit never comes down. All right, and that's absolutely true. That's because it has that internal
Cash value.
interest rate. Okay, but as I say, you can, if you want to, you can loan out your own money. All right, that account, and if you do that, of course, you paid extra to put it in. Now you're going to be pay extra to take it out. Okay, and there's going to be some other little things that go along with it, like since you have taken out that internal account, that is going to then lower the death benefit, because that was part of the death benefit. A lot of people didn't quite understand that account then becomes theirs upon death. All right, but other than that, as I say, some loan features, etc. But other folks think that may not be the coolest thing, because you pay extra to put it in. You then pay extra to loan out your own money, and then when you do pass, they then go and keep the money. Okay, so it's not a cool thing. But okay, and then on universal life, what happened was we had this huge inflation that came about in the 70s. All right, and because of that inflation, it's going to make whole life very, very unmarketable, because historically, let's put it that way, historically, whole life was invented at the end of the 19th century. All right.
Yeah.
And so for about 60 or 70 years, it was the chief product that most people purchased because, quite frankly, they didn't know anything else, and uh, a term was not successfully marketed because, well, the fact is that the premium was so low, the agents didn't make a whole lot of it. See, we're the first company to be able to successfully make that work financially. So
Right.
prior to us, it was there, but it was never used. Okay. Anyway, so they came out with then whole life. Well, that worked until all of a sudden, with this inflation rate, they invented a CD in the 70s, a certificate of deposit CD. All right. And so what happened then was that, wow, you could go to a bank and get a CD that paid, oh, they started out at 9, they go to 9.5, 10, 11, 12. Folks, they get all the way to 15 and 16% CDs.
Which is insane because on average, those ones, what the whole life would give you 6% interest around that.
Oh, even less than that. Whole life
Really?
historically 2 to 4%.
Yeah, that's
Now,
horrible. Yeah.
but there were times that certain things you could get from maybe 5%, but historically it is below 4%.
Right.
Okay, but it's all of a sudden now if you're paying able to get 10 or 12%, well, as I say, that's a no-brainer. So all of a sudden, people are going and taking their money out of whole life. See, they only pay you 2 to 4%, but if you loan it out, you're going to pay 6 or 7%, maybe 8%.
So you
Okay,
make less
okay,
of your own money.
yeah. Okay, so the deal is this, and so the deal is this. Well, hey, if you can get 12 or percent or more, hey, even though you're paying 5 or 6, you're still making 6%. Otherwise, you're only making what, 3 or 4. Okay.
Right.
Well, so it was as I say, a no-brainer. There's a huge sucking sound of money coming out of the insurance industry. So they've got to do something in order to do it, because, of course, by this time the concept of buy term and invest the difference had come along. All right, which was then much a much superior concept than the old one. So they had to come up with something. So they come up with universal life is what they do. And there is able to pay you a higher rate. However, the product that they are using is not a stable product. It's called annual renewable term, ART. And so now what it does is the price is going up. So it starts out not bad. Okay. It's inexpensive in the early years. But as we've already identified, as we get older, we're just another year closer to the end, whatever that is for anybody. Okay. Well, so that has to be compensated for in the price. So that's what they, that, as I say, worked for a while, but then it got to be so expensive, it didn't, it didn't pan out like they thought it was going to be.
Right. Yeah. And that's what yeah, and isn't it you only get a payout of whole life at age 100?
I'm sorry,
You get the death benefit if you reach age 100.
Yes. In other words, if you actually live to age 100. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
That in the classes I teach, okay, I had a lady who was the deputy coroner for a county, a local county here in Atlanta. All right, and a young lady. She was 30, plus or minus 2 years. She's roughly 30. Okay, so she might have been in that job 10 years, maybe obviously less than that. But anyways, and as a coroner, you know that they're the person that has to kind of take care of when there's a deceased. All right, and so she said she had been on 3,000 cases. Of the 3,000, 2 were age 100. All the other people were younger than 100. So the deal is this. Yes, you're absolutely right. If you get to age 100, that's a great thing. But the chances of you actually making it to age 100, good luck. I mean, the insurance industry knows what it is. All right. And that's how it works, because they've got the numbers. They have been keeping track of the numbers for since the Civil War. Is that what 160 some years or whatever like that? That's
Yeah.
what they've been doing. So.
Yeah, and the company takes pride in the education you give. So, can you elaborate on more of the education that you provide about insurance and stuff like that? Just a little benefits and
Well, as I say, we go through the different uh, types of coverage, all right, and the different facets, because there are a lot of different um, uh, additions that you can kind of make to insurance. There's you kind of basic things, and then um, we talk about these provisions. There's probably there's close to a dozen different ones. Um, about what is called waiver of premium, which is kind of insurance on insurance. So if a person were to pass accidentally, it therefore uh, uh, pays off. Okay. Uh, uh, More, et cetera, to do that, or it can go and it will uh, to go and if you were to be say injured, all right, it will then waive those premiums for as long as you are totally disabled, and that could be forever. Uh, so that's one little addition that you can have. Um, so uh, a- Another one which you have to learn about. I don't know how widespread because I don't think um, people do much anymore about insurance for when folks are young, all right, and that if it operates from like age 25 to 40, all right, and you can uh, uh, adversely uh, you can adversely select against the insurance company because normally you cannot do that because of course everybody would they would take a small amount of insurance, all right, until something bad happened. Okay, and insurance is all about uh, probabilities. It's about the numbers. Okay.
statistics.
Yep. So and because of that, this way people would have a small amount until they got sick or hurt or they found out they were uninsurable, which is something else. Remember that during one's lifetime we all become uninsurable. That's an absolute fact. Okay, and the fact that that is unknown is what makes insurance work,
Yep.
because we assume that everybody, every rational person, let's put it that way, wants to live as long as they can. All right, and so it's based on that principle that we're all trying to live long, and therefore they know what those numbers are historically. All right, so yeah, that's what, as I say, it, it, it gets you to that in that fact. Otherwise, it if if you had where people could just take insurance when they need it, it doesn't work because that's not insurance. Okay, that's not if, it's a matter of then when. Okay, so you cannot transfer that liability that is in front of us all to somebody else. You just have to live your life the best you can. Okay, trying to be as healthy as you can, etc. And it works.
Yeah. So you're super passionate about what you do. What makes you so passionate about what you do?
Oh, the people I get to meet and the help, because folks, I tell you, um, as I said now a couple of times, you know, uh, nobody gets off the planet alive. Well, helping people who have probably because they were not buying the most cost-effective insurance they could be buying. Okay, which is in my view is term insurance. Okay, uh, all of a sudden they can now afford more insurance. Okay, and you know as I say, when you have to deliver uh, uh, six-figure checks to families that otherwise may have had no insurance, may have had a small amount of insurance, and it just totally changes their entire life.
Yeah,
I
that's what term does.
Yeah,
You get it's so cheap and affordable that you're able to help out people so easily, and it turns it helps the loss be easier.
Yes, yes, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but as I say, uh, as you say, Cam, in other words, hey, the loss is unavoidable. Okay,
Hmm.
it's going to come to everybody, and but what you can do is you can mitigate against that by having insurance. All right, and so that I think is the most comforting thing to be able to when you hand these checks to folks, okay, and you look in their eyes and you see the gratitude and you see the relief that they know that, hey, wow, but for you, you know, things could have been a whole lot worse.
Hmm.
That's what it's about, helping people, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah, what would be a turning point in your life? Would you say it'd be getting into the military and having that turn, or what would be some turning points?
Um, yeah, I have to say that um, I guess in the it, in the military somehow earlier in life I kind of happened on the fact that um, education uh, was going to be the key to understanding and to seeing what life was about. And so I have been just a lifelong learner, and that has been, I think, the most because I'm learning about all kinds of things every time. So I enjoy going to class, the different stories that people have. Okay, some of the things that I learn about and can share. Um, yeah, I think that's it. So the day that I recognized that hey, that learning was going to be the key, and that I could help others. Yeah, that's what it is. And hey, it can make a pretty decent living,
Hmm.
and all that,
Yeah. Mr. Bobby Buison, he, as we know, we're
right?
in his barn right now.
Hmm.
We
I like the way he got the barn,
in the
right?
barn.
It's clever, right? Self-deprecating humor is always the best. Okay,
It is you would it this it's a bar.
humongous.
It's
It's
yeah,
humongous,
it's
yeah,
awesome.
and beautiful all at the same time,
Yeah, but he prides himself because it's just something you should pride yourself on is helping people and not wanting to expect something out of that's what I've kind of learned more in the like past year or two is that not to do stuff without expectations of receiving. I don't 99.9% of the stuff I do is it's never receive it back. It's to give. And Mr. B, he this is proof that giving is worthwhile.
yeah. See, he's a super example of that. And
Yes.
since you brought him up, he is such a cool guy who I met a long time ago, uh, 30 years ago, I guess. Anyway, and every buddy I have ever talked to who knows him or of him, he is a uh, you know a 5A double plus individual. He is just so kind and unassuming. Okay, what can you say? It just from the day that I met him way back until some of the people that have
Yeah.
come through his organization. Okay, he's just fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Outstanding. So if you would define success in your life, what would how do you define that for you?
Um, as I say, I think trying to show other people, okay, because I've had many people come through classes who have gone on to make very serious incomes, all right, and the fact that they could parlay uh, some of the knowledge that I imparted to them uh, in plus their hard work. Come on, it's their hard work, it wasn't mine, okay, but I showed him what the hard work could do. They have to learn some principles, etc. Uh, uh, for not only on passing the test, but I try to impart a few other things of my own personal stories. Okay, of kind of what I have lived through. Uh, you know, uh, personally, My father had MS. Never saw him walk. Died 2 weeks before my 11th birthday, and so I grew up kind of on the tough side uh, and the poor side. Um, and hey, I have been a success. I've put uh, kids through private school. Okay, and hey, life has been good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that helping others, plus yourself. Come on, as I say, there's an income that can be earned, and that's what it's got to be part of everything, right, in your life. So not just money, okay, because there are folks who I guess who are, for lack of a better word, crooks and drug dealers, and there's people that make all kinds of money, okay, but I don't know how they sleep at night or how long they live, because you see all these things on TV of you know uh, people attacking each other over the money because it's not uh, uh, earned correctly. Yeah, hey, that's what it is. Just having a good, decent, rewarding life.
Yeah. Y-
Oh, I'll tell you one other big
Okay.
thing that you brought up. Okay, that as I'm saying this, um, one of the things that don't talk about all the time, especially guys don't talk about,
Hmm.
I think, is finding a uh, a, a a proper or a great life partner. I'm
Hmm.
telling you, that is such a big thing to have a life partner with you that supports you and all that. Because hey, life, there's good days and bad days and all that sort of thing. So to find that right person, whatever it is for you, I think is important. Um, uh, so to kind of be able to share the good times and the not so good times. I think that has. I feel very lucky. I've been married to the a lucky lady. Okay, I say that with a grin, right? Okay, 35 years, 36 years. Okay, so and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and she's over there, probably can hear all what we're saying. So yeah, talk a little bit about her.
What? But
Your wife.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my wife is her name is Mary Alice. Okay, um, and see, she had some tragedy in her life. Okay, after we were married, I talk about it in class. Her son's second marriage for us both. Okay, and the deal is she lost her son, her only child. Okay, goes off to college, and through a kind of a freak accident. Um, it passes in the dorm. Okay, and so a kind of a, a super tragedy. There's nothing that is ever any worse than losing a child, but that happens. That's why all you can ever do in life is kind of, I think, be prepared, because remember, you don't know what's going to happen. Okay, plan for uh, to be 100, but live for that in case anything happens tomorrow. You and your loved ones are taken care of. I mean, that's kind of what it is, and hey, that's I think what we were able to do. I was able to support her and in really tough times, and she has been with me the whole time as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely having that. What do my mom and dad say? They say like battle buddy or something like that. I forget what it is.
Well, say again.
They say like they're each other's battle buddies. I can't remember. It's something funny. It's like clever.
Oh,
Yeah.
now I'm not because at first I thought you said battle bots.
No.
Battle bots. Okay,
No.
I've seen it on TV, and now I'm an old mechanical guy going way back. In fact, that's the way I kind of uh,
Automotive.
worked my way. Yeah, automotive background,
Oh
and
yeah, talk
worked my
about
way
that.
through school or whatever, rebuilding and flipping cars. Because my mother, as I ever told you, my dad died young. My mother married a fellow who is um, an auto mechanic. Okay, and probably not the world's best one, but anyway. And so times being a bit on the lean side, I learned how to go and uh, buy cars and uh, fix them up. I used to put a front end clip. I would always go and find one that was, a relatively minor problem, like somebody would rear end somebody else. Okay. And here's one other thing that was possible back in the day. It's no longer possible because, uh, unfortunately, some what can I say? Crooks got into the whole thing, and now if you have a car that gets totaled, they the title is salvaged, and so the car is essentially worthless. Okay, but that wasn't always the case. So if the car might have been just kind of on the edge, which is what I look for, a car that was just it was wrecked bad enough for the quote total the car, but not so badly wrecked that it couldn't be fixed. Lots of times it's just sheet metal damage, not a big deal at all. We're not talking about frame damage and all that other stuff,
Yeah, because
serious
then you have
stuff.
to
Anyway,
twist the
but
frame.
I would cherry pick the deals like that and then go and replace the parts and paint it and flip it. And as I say, I worked my way through college doing that. So
Yeah, I got one of my buddies he has like he's been like third generational mechanic and stuff like that. And his grandpa started it, and then his dad does it on the side, and he does motorcycles on the side. So for years, I'd help him out with
yeah,
rebuilding little motorcycles, and it was so fun.
and yeah, get to learn about mechanical things and about life. That's what it is, right? So yeah, a fun thing, and and as I say, you can. I at least made a few dollars out of that
Yeah,
in back in the day. So now I guess that's I say no longer possible because of the insurance
salvage.
regulations, which because of the criminal element that get into it. Anyway, I could explain that, but I don't waste your time. Okay.
So, what were some big sacrifices you've made to achieve what you've achieved?
All right. Well, as I say, in the uh, early days or whatever like that, in going to school. I mean, as I kind of hinted at already, I was poor, as I say. My stepfather, he was, I think he was a halfway decent mechanic, but he was not much of a businessman. And he didn't know the business, etc. Okay, and so I struggled. I being poor, it was not the end of the world. It kept me looking back. I was never happy at the time. First, I didn't know it at the time, okay? Because hey, you got food on the table and a warm place to sleep at night. Hey, life's good. There was never that kind of a deal, okay? On the other hand, when I was in college or whatever, and all that, I had friends that would go to because remember I'm up in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, it would go down to Fort Lauderdale and different things like that, and that would have been nice, but it never happened for me. Okay.
Right.
And because I'm always struggling, I'm always taking the long view and I'm working and doing that sort of thing. And so I think that in getting over those times, all right, helps you later on that you understand that uh, it makes you a stronger person,
Hmm.
okay, by going through tough times. It's not bad. You're never usually thrilled about it at the time, but when you look back, uh, now I was very fortunate in the military because, as I say, uh, the fact that, and I guess to a certain extent, that could be a time which was a kind of a life changing time because in going through ROTC, I only had a 2-year obligation. All
Okay.
right. However, I had in order to go to missile. Hey, this is during the Vietnam War, and when I took this chance to go to missile school, in order to do that, because of the rules and regulations and all the training I was going to get, okay, I had to give them more than a 2-year obligation. Okay, and so. I did, and fortunately, I guess, because of my background, I was sent to Germany instead of Vietnam, and so and I got to see a lot of cool stuff. Okay, and not only on a uh, a military basis, but to travel around because I got to go all of these various places, which before then, because I said I didn't have a whole lot of money, but hey, I got to go to, I was actually stationed like 2 miles or 3 miles from the French border. So I was all the way back there. So, anyways,
Wow.
so I got to go to Paris. Uh, that was like an overnight deal, not a big deal. Got to go to Rome and Greece and Turkey. I got to see all kinds of places that I never would have seen or whatever, and it got all on Uncle Sam's time. So
Right.
what can you say, right? It was good. Uh,
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So when you're talking about back then, what were some like when you had like daily failures, like let's say you couldn't get the sheet metal bent the correct way, or just had little failures throughout the day, how would you use those and stack them up to build from them to progress on them?
well, as I say, I think you recognize that you have to uh, you build on your successes, but on your failures. When you see things that, hey, this doesn't work, or I need to improve this, or hey, be critical of yourself to look at it and not in a negative way. Say, okay, hey, if I'd have done this, you know, uh, maybe if I would have, there was a time or two when I didn't put all the work I should have into a term paper.
Right.
Okay. And so, and I didn't get a very good grade. So I learned from that. I said, well, I guess the next time, he said it was going to be a term paper. I should have been working on it in more than 3 days,
Yeah.
okay. And, which, being young, and as I say, I had other things that you do when you're young, got all kinds of demands on you. And as I said, I was working and blah, blah, all that stuff. Okay. But, you learn from your experiences that usually if you work harder or longer, those kind of things pay off.
Yeah.
Okay. And not just expecting, life to uh, come at you. You need to kind of go and to go after it yourself. So, and oh, I'll tell you another thing that as we're saying this, it comes to mind. Find uh, a mentor, a person, uh, if you can, as a mentor, but if nothing is an ideal, read books, read things that people who have done things that you say, wow, that was pretty impressive. Okay. And so, yeah, start looking for individuals that you can emulate, that you can uh, see what they're doing and how they do it and so forth. But
Yeah.
uh,
What are some books? Because I know I read. I mean, I have so many books on my shelf that I need to read. But what are some? You showed some books when we were in
well,
class
okay,
together.
yeah, you're right. Now, yeah, there's all kinds of books. Now I have a kind of military history because I've got that kind of a deal. And but I mean, as from a starting point, okay, books like if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, okay, uh, and books of that genre, okay, to see, um, yeah, that's just the kind of a basic thing. Now, as I say, uh, you know, I've read the uh, things on uh, oh, Patton and some of these generals or whatever that, as I say, kind of appeal to me, and uh, to see what was good and bad, and see some of the sacrifices that some did. And I can't think of this lady's name right offhand, but she was a spy. I for a while, a couple of years back, I got to reading some of the more famous spies of World War II, and this lady that interesting. She was British, but she was born in France and lived there. So she's a totally fluent French speaker. Okay,
Okay.
so the war comes, and so they're looking for people to go behind the lines, etc. Okay, and that's her. And and she helps out on some missions, and it tells you all about that, blah blah. But then she gets captured. The Germans capture her.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and her trials of not only judicial trial, her uh, living through the things that that torture, that's the right word, that they put her through to get her to talk. She never talked. Okay. And I probably ought not to be too graphic in here of some of the things they did for her, like whatever. It is, again, it shows you what people can do, have done. Okay. In 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 the development of the war, in all that, when you believe in something that you know is right, to keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
Yeah. So was your childhood the part that wants you to keep pushing harder and for better and more? Is that kind of what pushed you to do that? What pushed you to?
Yeah, as I say, I think seeing things tough when I was young, yeah, and but as I say, it at the time, you may have thought it was uh, a bit rough or whatever like that. But as I said, I didn't recognize a lot of it till later. At the time, okay, so I didn't have a lot. Other kids did. We didn't own a car, okay, kind of thing. I mean, my dad did, but then he was paralyzed and couldn't drive, and so they sold the car. But so, anyways, not ever having a car to grow up in and things of that nature. Yeah, oh, okay. And yeah, you just learn how to that way things are.
Yeah.
Okay, uh, uh, and I think it builds character, really, because you recognize that what hey, nearly everybody has some kind of trials in life,
Yep.
and I think the fact that you can educate yourself around those, okay, and draw on other people's strengths, okay, helps you through the tough times. And then again, it goes back to me why I teach. I think you got to transmit that to other folks to help them, because we all have our down days. I
Yep.
mean, that's just it, so.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for coming on to the show.
Okay, well,
Um,
thanks for having me.
yeah, definitely.